Welcome back, everybody. It's time for a nooner video. That's right. Nooner video means it's noon time. Get your mind out of the gutters. Today we're going to look at wrestling figures. Now I'm going to try my best not to say wrestling, but I probably will say wrestling because that's just that's the way you're supposed to say it. But wrestling. And I'll admit I don't know much about the sport, dance, whatever you want to call it, or wrestling. I do know, the major players: Hulk Hogan, Honky Tonk Man, Randy Savage, Andre the Giant. I know all the 80s classics, and I know the newer guys like The Rock and John Cena, I think that's one, and Mr. Marvelous. I know the newer, so I know the names more than I know watch. I've never really sat down and watched wrestling. I used to watch the cartoon sometime in the 80s. I had a friend named Nick, really liked it, so I'd watch it then. But I just never got into wrestling, okay? I just never got into it. But, you can't avoid it, especially growing up in the 80s when it really took off. I remember watching it on TBS before it got really big, and these like local events, and it was like the Mask, what was his name, like the Mask #2 or something, I forget. I remember watching it back then, and of course one of my favorites is Andy Kaufman, and he brought wrestling to me more than anybody else did. But I figured we would look at wrestling, the top 10 generic wrestling action figures, and there's so many of these, I probably could do 20 of them. Now, for some reason, there's a lot of generic Transformers, a lot of generic toys with a He-Man style body, and the other is wrestling figures. Those three right there are probably the most ripped off lines I ever see. So let's just look at these. Got 10 of them right here. They're probably the corniest, the stupidest. Now, I don't know wrestling. Like I said, some of you might say, hey, that's an official line. To me, I got them because it was from a toy company I never heard of. They look cheap. And most of the packages didn't have a wrestler's name on it. So I took that as being a generic rip-off line if they just had a big muscle guy and he didn't have a name on it. If it just said Yellow Trunks, then I would count that as a generic line. So some of these are more official. Maybe some smaller wrestling company I never heard of. I apologize, but I still think they're generic. So we'll put them on the list. But right here at number 10, we're going to start off number 10. What a great name for this toy line right here. Wrestling Champion. Wrestling Champion. Let's take a look at that. As you can see here, they have a tag on the box. On the box, not a price tag, just written there, Dollar General, $1. So you can find these at Dollar General. It's got a big purple man showing his crotch right there on the front of the package. And this one guy's, I don't know, like he's wearing a hard hat or something. Not really sure. But Wrestling Campaign, one of the newer lines. One of the newer ones that you'll see on this list, because I didn't realize it was a Dollar General toy until right now. If I did, I probably wouldn't have put it on the list because I was trying to stick these more 80s or 90s. A lot of them didn't even have a year. That's how generic they are. Like this one right here, number 9, Wrestling King. That's right, the king of all wrestling. The Wrestling King. Look at this guy. Looks like Jesus. That's right. Looks like Jesus. Kind of got a generic, it looks like those He-Man type bodies, but it looks like if you play with them, you squeeze them. They're like really thin plastic and they're hollow inside. So you push in on the muscle or something and it would pop in and would never pop back out. You know what I'm talking about, right? Anybody that's played with a cheap toy knows. And the rubber bands on these legs are going to break as soon as you put them in a full Nelson. You know that. No doubt about it right there. Wrestling King. It says you can twist their head and twist their waist, move their arms and legs. Yep, about 3 times. And then it will pop off and you never will again. Check out this action figure line coming in number 8. Action Wrestler. Well, that's a good name. These are more mini little rubber-like figures. You can get them in a pack. They came in packs of 4s. Now, a lot of these generic wrestler figures, they will look kind of like somebody you see on TV. I see a lot of fake-looking Hulk Hogans. But check these out right here, little 4. I think one of them might look like Andre the Giant. Ain't it odd that his last name's Giant and he's really tall? It's coincidence, I guess. Let's go to this one right here. Oh, hold on, I didn't throw my card. Boom! I don't think I threw the card on the last one either. Okay, how about this one right here? You got to love the card art on this one. Top Warrior. Top Warrior. It only sounds like a wrestling line. I don't know why I have this in the wrestling line, but it came up as a wrestler line. I guess they're wearing trunks and wearing boots. I guess they dress like a wrestler, but This guy's named Mad Tiger, and there's a couple other ones in the line also. Top Warrior, the wrestling action figure line. That was released in 1992, believe it or not. 1992. Seems like it was just 30 years ago. Okay, let's see here. Here's another one. Gotta love the name of this one right here. Star-studded wrestling bendable action figures. We know bendable action figures. You think Just Toys, but these were not made by Just Toys. It's made by Diamond Toy Makers. That's right, Diamond Toy Makers. I never heard of them either. Star-studded wrestling. As you can see, they look like famous wrestling, but there's no name on the package. There's no Hulk Hogan. There's no Ted DiBiase. There's no $1 Million Man. There's no Elizabeth. There's no Mean Gene Oka. They just, just generic people, so I put them in the generic page. And talk about a He-Man body. What about this one right here? Wrestling Champs. Again, what a great name. Wrestling Champs. And it's got Hulk Hogan on the art card. You can't say that's not Hulk Hogan. It looks like he's fitting to put a pile driver on someone. Yep. The crowd in the background is going all wild. And Hulk's standing there. Oh, angry Hulk. And he's fitting to put a pile driver on this guy. This bald-headed one looks kind of like the Iron Sheik, maybe. I don't know. It looks like the Iron Sheik mixed with Jolly Green Giant. No, he doesn't. Not the Jolly Green Giant. Mr. Clean. That's who I was thinking of. Looks like Mr. Clean. He's got one silver boot on and one red boot on. How about is that? That must be his wrestling name. Silver boot. One silver boot or something. I don't know. Whew, making up as I go along. Let's go look at another one right here. Whew. Another one with a He-Man style body. I don't know why everybody wanted to rip off these He-Man bodies. This is All Pro Wrestling Champions action figure. Real wrestling action. I don't know what. Let's see what the action is. Fully twisted head, waist, and head and waist. Movable arms and legs. Removable championship belt. How about that? So you get the figure, he's the galactic champion of the world, and you can take his belt off if he loses a fight. Very, very good. It's got another guy looks like doing some kind of twisty dance on the card. Really, really rare. But again, generic, don't really have any names. This guy, he's even got a ponytail. If I was a wrestler, I wouldn't be wrestling around with a ponytail. Looks like a perfect place to get you and walk you around, throw you into the rings and everything. Whew. Well, let's look at another one. Look at that. This is probably the worst. I didn't put this at number 1, but probably I should have. They're just called Wrestler. I don't know how they came up with that name for this toy line. Wrestler. Oh, man. Look at this thing. This thing is one ugly figure. Again, it's letting you know they have movable arms and waist. They say that a lot. It's got a Hulk Hogan. And it looks like on the package a fake Hulk Hogan and a fake Randy Savage. Oh, slam it to a Slim Jim. Remember that guy? Oh, you got 3 minutes. Okay. You can turn them and twist them, it says. Again, it looks like one of those. You twist it about 3 times, it's going to break in half. It never work again. I don't know why the head on these things is so big. Look at the head on these things. They're so big. Whew, man. Looks like a rust head. There we go. Here's another one right here. Champion Wrestling. Champion Wrestling. Again, it's bragging that it has a twisted head and waist. Why is this on all the packages? Movable arms and legs, and he also has a removable belt, and he also has a fake He-Man body. Looks like we got Carl Weathers from Rocky. I think they got their sports mixed up with this action figure line. And in the background, that has to be the Hulkster. Putting someone, put his butt on somebody's face. I don't know what that move's called. Only one I know is the Power Driver, and of course, the Full Nelson. And I'm also a big fan of the Ozzy Nelson. The Ozzy Nelson. Rick's dad. The Nelson's grandfather. Thornberry's neighbor. Ozzy Nelson. Okay, let's go on to the last one. The last one right here. Here we go. World Champion Wrestlers. Can you believe this? World Champion. Looks like a fake Rocky right there. World Champion Wrestling. Man, these are some horrible figures. Horrible figures. And let's see what this action figure is. Let's take a look at it. What am I talking like that? I don't know. Full posable figure. You can pose them any way you want to. Movable arms and legs. It didn't say nothing about the waist that time. I don't believe it. Oh, there we go. Turn and twist waist. for wrestling action. Man, that's pretty cool. It comes with a belt also. Looks like it comes with something put around the arms. Maybe it's got the people on the card in the background are cheering. Yeah. They are cheering, having a good time. They're all white and Mel. What is up with that? World Champion Wrestling. These are horrible. I don't know why they all had a big gold medallion on. What was the deal with that? I don't understand that. Anyway, that's 10 of the worst generic wrestling action figures I could find. You tell me, are they bad? Are they good? Maybe you're like, hey, those are the best. Those are better than the official wrestling figures I had. I had some WWFE figures growing up, and they were the best. Anyway, that's a look. Again, sorry if I said anything wrong when it comes to wrestling terms. Like I said, I don't know wrestling unless we're talking about probably one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, Don Flamingo. I do know Don Flamingo because he kicked my ass a lot of times. Anyway, let me know what you think about these wrestling figures. Maybe a generic line I forgot to mention. We can do it in the part 2 because I found so many of these. Or maybe you can tell me about how much you love wrestling and how fun it was at the trailer park when you and your cousin used to wrestle on the grass. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching. Thumbs up if you like my content. Subscribe to the channel. And we'll talk again soon.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.